What's up guys, it's Dan. Welcome back to another episode of Guitar Talk. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, roll that intro. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are looking at the ML SoundLab Amped Bass plugin and software. Just so you guys know what I'm using, I've got my copy of a Music Man bass. It's cheap and cheerful. It's got ESP electronics, they are active. That goes into a solid state Logic SSL 2 Plus interface, which goes into my Mac that's running Studio One so that you guys can see what I'm doing and hear what I'm doing. You can use this software as a standalone bit of software if you are wanting just to play through something that's amplified through your computer. You don't need recording software for it, but I am using the actual plug-in version of it so that I can record with it. So with that being said, let's jump into the... So we can see here we have got a session already loaded up, which is just something I've been working on with my band, just a little demo I've been putting together. So you guys can hear we've got the bass track here already armed with no plugin on. This is what it sounds like. Nice and lifeless and flat and quiet. If we grab the plugin and throw it on, then it should sound a lot more like a bass for a bass amp. That is better. Right. I will start off by saying I am not a bass player. I am a guitarist who every now and again lays down some pretend bass lines on songs just to see what it would sound like. But I am doing my best for you guys. Right, so what I normally do with these is just take you through the different sections of the plugin so you can see what is here. Obviously, we've got the big graphic of an amp that's got all the controls on it that Act-Lite controls should. So you can turn them, and so with the bass, turn up the bass turns up, as you would expect. The amp section here, you've got two different amps are included. I am led to believe that the first amped bass is based on a Ampeg style amp that's been tweaked to ML SoundLab's preference, and the amped bass rack is based on like a SansAmp style bass rack, so like a preamp kind of thing that again has been tweaked to ML SoundLab's preference. If we go back to the amped bass, the Ampeg style, and head over to the preset section, you can see here there are lots of different presets already included, which are designed to give you a tone straight out of the box that is really usable, and they are named pretty obvious things to get you in the ballpark for that kind of tone. So like bass 182 is going to be a Blink 182 style bass sound. Lamb of bass is going to be like Lamb of God. Foo bass, I'm assuming, is like a Foo Fighters kind of thing. So that's all pretty self-explanatory. We will look at some more of that in a bit. You can save your own presets as well, so you can make your own sounds and save them as whatever you want. The pedal board section here, you can see you've got pedals already built into the software. So noise gate compressor drive at the front of the amp and a chorus delay and reverb, which are normally in the effects loop. I'm assuming they are on this, so all the effects are exactly where you want them, and they are really good effects that are included with the software. The license manager, this is where I should point out, you can download this software for free from ML SoundLab's website to try out. All it will do if you are trying out the free software is it will just cut the sound every now and again, so you can get a good idea of what it sounds like and feels like, and that is quite important with a lot of the plug-in emulations and modelers that you can get, is the feel when you are playing them, and also to know if your computer is going to be powerful enough to handle such a plugin. I recommend that you do go over there and just download any of the plugins and just give them a go, because they're all, in my opinion, really good. And then once, if you want to buy one, you buy the license, you go into the license manager, copy in the license key, and then you've got the full version. Easy as that. The cab section down here, essentially you go into it, it brings up the cab with the speakers. You've got your microphone here that you can move around, so you can really dial in a different tone, whatever you want. You can move it further away or closer to the amp. You can select different microphones and the graphic changes for the microphone, so like so. Normally with these you get loads of different speakers and cabs thrown in. With this one they've only got the one speaker cab, which is fine by me because it sounds really good. What maybe I would like to see is maybe like a 4x10 or a 2x10 cab and maybe like a 1x15 cab. That would be cool if they could do that, but this sounds perfectly adequate to me. And you can do the usual stuff like load your own IRs in, and you can mix different sounds together. So if we put in another cab and put like a ribbon mic on there, you know, you might want to do something like if we move that really far away, so that you've got kind of like a room mic sound and a direct sound to give you different kind of sounds. And you know, as I say, you can just move these around wherever you want, put in as much as you want, and really tweaking that sound. And then if we head back over to the amp section, let's take a look at some presets and see what they sound like. We start with the Bass 182. As I said, I'm not a bass player, so I will do my best for you guys and do an impression of someone that can play bass. We've got Bass 182, which should give you a Blink 182 kind of sound, just like a straight pop punk, clean but slightly pushed tone, and sounds something like that kind of thing. To me, you know, it does the job and it sounds great. If you're after that kind of bass tone, it just sounds really good. If we look at something like bass like Teen Spirit, that is going to be early 90s, mid 90s kind of bass tone, where, you know, trebles cranked, bass and mids are just really low down. I'm assuming the compressor's probably turned on as well. Yep, compressor is on, and it'll just give you something like just, again, a really usable tone straight out of the box. Just click of a finger and you've got a usable tone, and you can tweak any of these presets as well. So if you want to change that to, you know, something a little bit more flat sounding, you want to put some bass and some mids back in, it's just a little tweak of the knobs and easy as that, just to dial in your own bass tones. Let's take a look at the bass rack. So as I said, SansAmp style, Fallout bass drive. So this is probably going to be a really overdriven Fallout Boy modern pop rock style bass tone. Loads of gain on tap, and again, just because it says Fallout bass, so Fallout Boy style thing, you know, a tone like this is going to be perfect for a lot of things, like if you want that Muse style bass tone. Or even just the king of cranked bass sound, like your amp is going to explode. Lemmy, you know, you can probably use it for that kind of stuff as well. You know, it's so useful for a lot of things. Just as I said, because it says Fall Out Boy, it doesn't mean that or Fall Out Bass, it doesn't mean you have to use it for just that style of bass playing. They are all really versatile. So there we go. That is some simple little presets, and you know, we head over to something like nickel bass and see how that sounds. So that to me is just a really clean, I hate to say it because it's called nickel bass, and I know they get a lot of shit undeservedly in my opinion because I think they're a great band, but it's just kind of run-of-the-mill, unoffensive, good, clean bass sound, radio friendly, all really nice. And again, just at the click of a finger, really easy to get a bass tone like that. And that to me is, so I'm a guitarist, I write songs for my band. Every now and again I sit down, record a demo just to see how it would be fleshed out and how it would sound. Does the riff work? This kind of stuff to me is just really, really invaluable, that I can just get bass tones like this just to slap down a demo just like that. And with that being said, let's look at the actual track and see how this is going to sound in a recording. I apologize if this is out of time. I'm getting a bit of lag here in the studio because obviously my Mac's screaming at me that it's screen capturing, recording video, it's recording the entire output of the Mac so that I don't have to hit record while I'm playing to you guys, as well as doing the actual recording. So there is a bit of lag on my end. Hopefully it's recording in time for you guys, but if it's not, apologies, but you know, this is just to see how it sounds in a mix. So let's hit the record button and see what happens. So there we go, as easy as that, just to get a really usable bass tone, which in my opinion sounds really good. And the beauty of using plugins like this is obviously it's emulating an amp, so you can get that kind of amp sound. But at the same time, if you don't like the sound that you've recorded, rather than have to go back and record the whole thing after EQing your amp, you can literally just go back in and change the preset or the sound that you were recording with. So let's see how that sounds. We just move this out of the way a little bit, and yeah, that should be about fine where it is. It's as easy as that, just to change things around. And Again, another really cool thing with this is because it is emulating an actual amp, is that you can treat it like you've just recorded a normal amp. So if you ignore that this is here and just assume this is an empty chain in where you would put your effects and that you've just recorded a bass amp, then you know, you can go down here, let's use the Pro EQ that's included with Studio One, and you can just mix it like you would a normal amp. So So it reacts just as you would expect, you know, a real bass amp. That's the kind of sound that you're getting, and you can throw on all your usual mixing techniques like EQs, compressors, all that kind of stuff, limiters, whatever you want to put on there, whatever you do to your normal bass sound with this plugin, because, you know, it's emulating a bass amp, and that to me is just invaluable that you can get. I don't want to say like a home bass sound, because to me it's a professional bass sound. The fact that you can get that kind of tone that's so malleable without having to plug in a bass amp or buy a bass amp or borrow a bass amp off your bassist if you're like me and you're a home recording guitarist, or even if you are a bass player and you want that cranked Ampeg sound without having to spend £2,000 on an Ampeg and crank your Ampeg. The fact that you can get it just by dragging and dropping this plugin in is just, to me, that's just completely invaluable. And as I said, this is available to try for free on the ML Sound Lab website. I recommend that you do that because it is a really good bass amp, and there is something with this plugin to me that just sounds more natural and dynamic than other bass plugins that I've used in previous videos. You've seen me use the TSE BOD plugin, which is a great plugin, but this, to me, there's just something else there where a bit more thought and care has been put into it. It's a bit more high-end sounding. So I love it. I love all the ML Sound Lab stuff that they've come out with. They've been a great company to deal with. Their customer support is really, really good, and there are no complaints. It is such a useful plugin. For me, I have said before in the previous one of these videos I did where I looked at their ML Sound Lab dual rectifier, I think at the end of that I said I would love to see something like a Fender Twin, an AC30 or a bass amp would be really useful. And here we are a few weeks later, and now there is an ML Sound Lab bass plugin, and I love it. As I said, the only thing I would love to see is just a few more cabs thrown in there, like a 1x15 or something like that. You can load in your own IRs, so obviously you could just load in your own IR of a 1x15, but it'd just be nice to see that thrown in there as well, because the ML Sound Lab guys, the IRs that they include are really, really good, so you just know straight away it's going to be a good one. That being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I apologize for my bass playing. As I said, I am not a bass player, I am a guitarist. But let me know what you think of the plugin and what would you like to see from them next. Other than that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.